Welcome to the Nerd on Nerd podcast with me, Jack Hempster.
And me, Liam Underwood. In this episode, we'll be talking about Attack on Titan and The Trip. Both of these TV shows are currently available on UK Netflix. If you haven't seen them, what are you waiting for? We gave you 2 weeks' notice. Get on with it.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
Now we've got business. Business at the front, party in the back. Let's start my favourite segment, catching up with Jack and Liam. How are you today, Jack?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm impressed, to be honest.
With?
Those intro skills I just busted out of nowhere.
Yeah, we'll see if they stay.
They will. Remember who edits it.
Yeah, but remember who's going to overwrite them next time we do it.
Whatever. What's been going on in the world of Jack Kempster since we last spoke on the podcast?
In the last 2 weeks, I've not really done anything.
Well, that's a lie.
What have I done in the last 2 weeks?
You came to visit your good buddy, Liam Underwood.
When did we do that?
Like a week ago. Literally last weekend.
Wow. Doesn't time fly?
When you're having fun.
Yeah. That's a good point. I came down and visited you.
Yeah.
That's like I should remember.
Exactly, because I think it was a memorable, fun experience for everyone involved.
That's what some people would say.
Would you say that?
No.
What would you say?
I'd say it was a nightmare hellscape full of you forcing me to do blab.
Yeah, and you enjoyed that.
I enjoyed bits of the blab.
What bits did you not enjoy?
The bits where you repeatedly brought up my romantic life and encouraged people to give me dating advice that I didn't want.
Okay, a couple of points to that. One, I did not repeatedly bring it up. I maybe brought it up once, possibly at a push twice. Two, I did very little encouraging. I was a silent party through most of it, while people gave you free knowledge.
Okay, well let me run a little hypothetical situation.
Please do.
Let's say that there's this big town, right?
Okay.
They haven't got walls. They're not that kind of town. It's a big town. Not modern day. I'm thinking medieval.
Okay,
there's a hill next to that town. Okay.
Like knights and shit.
And on top of this, yeah, exactly, knights and shit. It's a pretty prosperous town. But next to this town, there's this big hill.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And at the top of that hill, there's this boulder.
Yes.
Now, there's this one boy in town. We'll call him Liam. And
I like him. He sounds fun.
He loves that hill. He goes up there. He looks out at the world, and he's always been fascinated with this boulder, right?
Yeah. What's the boulder's name?
The boulder doesn't have a name, Liam, because it's a boulder.
Okay. I feel like
he named it Percy because he's
yeah,
a dickhead.
Yeah. I would have felt like Liam would have given it a name.
He did. He named it Percy.
Yeah.
One day, right? He's playing around on the hill.
Yeah.
And he pushes Percy, and he finds out that as time has weathered away some of the ground, Percy's not quite as stable as he used to be.
Oh God, well that's just life for you, isn't it?
Yeah, so he pushes Percy and he's like, oh, that's interesting.
I'll tell you what, you saying that has reminded me, right? What a beautiful, beautiful description of just life. Just life. I mean, just this week, I barely got any sleep one night because I trapped a nerve in my back, kept me up all night long. That's never happened to me before.
Okay.
And that's just life, just weathering you away, isn't it?
I don't know how you've got onto this side point to my story.
Well, your story just reminded me beautifully of the perils of ageing. Now, you're quite a young whippersnapper, so I would say you probably haven't quite experienced the darker side of life just yet.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, for you, everything's still rainbows and lollipops. But trust me, when you start getting on a bit, things stop working the way they used to.
So little Liam, after pushing Percy a little bit, he goes, oh, maybe I'll see what happens if I give it a big shove. So he pushes this boulder, and the boulder starts rolling down the hill, Liam. And I don't know if you can figure out what happens next, but I feel like this is an apt metaphor for what I felt like during the blab. Because that boulder just runs through that town, kills hundreds of people screaming, and they all look up at the hill, and little Liam goes, oh, I just pushed the boulder, it wasn't me. Do you think that's a fair point?
Nah.
Okay. What's been going on with you?
I feel like if we're going to go down the metaphor road, okay, that's medieval, this bitch.
Okay.
There was a town, okay, and it had some gates up. It was a small town, big gates, alright? We'll call the town Jack, okay? There was a moat around it, just filled with emptiness, right? And it was very hard for anyone to ever visit the town. There was one single drawbridge, often raised, it was. And then one day, a dashing adventurer stumbles upon the town of Jack, And, I mean, this town is fucking decrepit.
This sounds like a metaphor for you about to have sex with me.
This town is fucking decrepit. It's run down. Its better days are rapidly becoming behind it. It's overgrown. And Liam looks at this town and he thinks, you know what? There's potential here. If only I could figure out a way to lower the drawbridge and then fill this empty town with love. Maybe.
Again,
maybe.
Sounds like Liam's about to have sex with the town.
Maybe if I go to the internet, they'll be able to give this town advice on how to lower its drawbridge and raise its gates. And perhaps this town, which exists mostly in solitude and loneliness, could be filled with love. And that's all Liam did, really. And the town, he didn't like that.
No, okay, that's fair. That's fair. I would just like to point out that at the beginning you said it wasn't your fault, you only encouraged it once, but in your metaphorical story, Liam 100% caused it. So, I believe we both accepted it was your fault, and I don't give a shit how the town turned out.
Right. Maybe it was my fault, but here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Is it a bad thing if it's for good?
You didn't do it for good, though, which is what the people in the blab did not realise.
I don't know what you're on about. There was a lot of good intentions there. It's not my fault that you can't see my innate good intentions.
Yeah? Yeah, is that what it is? I'm not looking at the bigger picture.
Exactly.
You're the puppet master pulling all the strings.
Well, let's think about this, okay? So, let's give some context for those listeners who maybe weren't lucky enough to experience this beautiful blab where many people, they took time out of their day, out of their busy lives, they got on camera and they spoke to you. They spoke to you for no other reason than to give you advice on dating.
Turn it into
while they're pickle.
Jack's ungrateful for the people. I'm fine with the people. All the people I met were nice people, and they all seemed really good and decent.
And they tried to help.
What I was uncomfortable with was that you encouraged it to become a relationship advice blab.
Right, but let's think about this. Let's say next time me and you head out next weekend for the Super Bowl. The day before the Super Bowl, we go out, because on the actual day, we'll be watching the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Yeah. We go out, and you put into practice some of this advice that you received. And then let's say, I don't know, you meet someone. Could be a girl, possibly. She's lovely. She's delightful. Fast forward 5 years, you're getting married. Wouldn't that be my fault?
No. Nope.
Without the advice that I instigated for you, you'd have never gone and met that girl. You won't get married. You won't have children. So I think what the words you're looking for are thank you, Liam, and thank you, people of Blab.
No, I've definitely got some different words on my mind. Let me just figure them out. Okay, yep, it's what happened to you in the last 2 weeks, Liam?
Well, got a hemorrhoid.
Yep, wonderful.
Didn't like that. I stopped eating chili for a week.
Yeah.
Started again now, so fingers crossed.
I don't think that gave you hemorrhoids.
I honestly don't know.
Right, I mean, that's not what gave you hemorrhoids.
What was it?
It's from sitting still for too long.
Really?
That's one of the reasons, I think.
I'm quite an active person.
I'm not a doctor, mate.
I tend to not strain, and I'm very active. Well, somewhat active.
Very compared to me. But...
Yeah, but compared to most people, let's say somewhat.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know, but it was. Oof, I didn't like it.
No, that's fair. That's understandable.
I think it's retreated now, but I haven't had the courage to have a poke around with my camera again to find out for sure.
Well, you definitely shouldn't be doing that.
What?
You should be able to tell if you have one.
How?
Can you not feel it?
I don't often just finger my bum.
No, I mean, can you not actively feel it?
No.
Then you probably haven't got one.
It's probably retreated, right?
Yeah, it's probably. I mean, if you can't feel it, then yeah, it's probably gone.
Well, that's good. Didn't like it. Then I obviously had the trapped nerve in my back.
Yeah.
I've been through the wars this week, Jack.
Yeah, so you've just had... I mean, catching up with Jack and Liam this week is Liam had a bad time.
And Jack had a brilliant time, but was too silly to realise it.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. One other thing I did this week.
Go on.
Watched a movie.
What movie did you watch?
Straight Outta Compton. Now, long-time listeners will know that I'm trying to make the effort to go to the cinema more. I'd just like to point out, I didn't see this at the cinema. This was a Blu-ray release that I brought and promptly watched.
Yep.
Have you seen it?
I have not.
Right, so, just to give you an idea of what it's about, It's all about the NWA.
Who?
The NWA.
What's that?
That is a group of young African-American men. So it starts in the 80s.
Oh, sorry, whoa. I feel like you're avoiding my question there. NWA definitely sounds like it's an acronym for something, Liam, and you're not. You're very carefully skirting around it, and I don't know why.
There are reasons.
Oh, okay.
So, it's set in the 80s.
Yeah, no, I know who NWA are, Liam.
Yeah, it's set in the 80s.
Yeah.
And it's all about, essentially, the birth of gangster rap.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if you know this about me, but I am terribly white.
Really? I've never noticed.
Well, I wasn't really addressing that to you. That was more for the listeners.
Oh, okay.
You know it. You've met me. You've seen my dance moves.
I think our listeners know it because they've listened to this podcast.
Maybe it's a first-time listener listening to this episode for the very first time, and he's like, oh, this Liam sounds like he's a bit urbanised. Guess what? I'm not.
Yep, fair enough.
Did you ever listen to the NWA?
Yeah, I've heard quite a few of their songs.
Yeah, my knowledge of their songs was limited. Obviously, the classic song "Express Yourself" is the one I'm probably most familiar with. So I think that's used in a few video games, like skateboarding video games.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, the other one that I was aware of was "Fuck the Police."
Yep.
Now, I don't know if you know the origins of that song. It's a fascinating story, and I would really recommend you watching the movie.
Well, is it something to do with the police doing something to them?
The police were just right dickheads.
Yeah.
And I'd say watch the movie and have a new appreciation for gangster rap.
Okay. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it, but I'm not anti-gangster rap.
Exactly. I think you'd approach it the same as me, where it's not something you would necessarily choose to listen to in your own time.
I do sometimes.
What sort of mood do you have to be in to want to listen to it?
Depends. I just listen to music whenever, and I'm like, okay. Oh, I'm feeling like a bit of NWA.
I've never really had that mood strike me.
Fair enough.
I'm more an Usher person, to be honest.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, so NWA, it's a little bit mean for my taste, but watch the movie, you'll see why. There's good reasons behind it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you want to try and do a spoiler-free review?
Yeah, it's about the birth of the NWA. I liked it. My only minor criticism, I watched the director's cut.
Okay.
Now, it's 2 hours, 46 minutes.
So already quite long.
It's a long movie, but what I will say, you don't notice it. It's the sort of movie where it's got a good pace to it, and there's no slow bits where it starts to feel like it drags on anything. Like these guys, Ice Cube, Eazy-E, Dr. Dre, others, they've had a pretty interesting life, to be honest.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Now, I believe, from what the movie tells us, the NWA was formed of 5 people, and the movie focused on the 3 that I just named. The other 2, whose names are escaping me right now, because the movie kind of marginalises them and puts them on the sideline a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I have to say, personally, it would have been nice if everyone had got a bit of an equal showing, and the movie does present itself as kind of like Eazy-E's story. It opens with him, and it closes with him. It almost feels like an Eazy-E biopic, but that's not how it was kind of marketed.
Yeah.
Now, I believe it's initially how it was scripted, and then once Ice Cube and Dre came on board as producers, they beefed up the rest of the context.
Right, got you.
But yeah,
so it was originally made to be that one guy.
Eazy-E, yeah.
Thank you. And then they came on board and were basically came on as producers and were like, well, if we're producers, I feel like we should probably have a bigger role.
I don't want to say that's exactly what happened.
But, I mean, that feels like what it probably was.
Yeah, I mean, probably.
Fair enough.
But like I said, it's fascinating. And what was really interesting for me is I was watching it. I was like, damn, the guy that's playing young Ice Cube. Fuck me if he doesn't look like Ice Cube. You'll never guess.
I think I've heard that.
Who do you think plays young Ice Cube?
Is it his son or something?
It is.
There you go. That makes sense then.
Now imagine playing your father in a movie. You imagine doing that to your father.
Because I've heard people talking about how weird it must have been for him.
Yeah.
Doing that.
So would you portray your father in a movie of his life?
I mean, I don't think anyone's going to make a movie about an estate agent from our area, my area.
What about all the hoes he was probably banging?
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
How would you feel replicating that? So, for example, okay, let's say we're filming your father's life.
Right.
how would you feel about filming the scene where initially you're giving life to you?
Yeah, I mean, that would be weird.
Who would you cast as your mum?
I don't know.
Something to think about.
I've literally never considered that.
Consider it.
I'm not going to. You know I'm terrible with actors and actresses.
No, I know, but I'm here to help.
Right. Well, before we do mine, who would you cast as your family?
Ellen Page.
Right, really?
Do
you think your mum and Ellen Page are similar?
No, but if I'm going to have a scene where I'm making babies and I'm the baby that's made, I'm going to be making that baby with Ellen Page.
Oh, buddy, there are some real psychological issues in that, so let's just run through them real quick. So what you want is Ellen Page to play your mum.
Yeah.
So that when you, acting as your dad, impregnate Ellen Page acting as your mum, you can still be like, but it was Ellen Page, even though she's playing your mum, and you'd have to call her your mum's name.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just saying, this is probably what Ice Cube's son had to go through.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he probably did.
I mean, people say acting, oh, what an easy job it is. That doesn't sound easy to me.
No. I'm just reading a little bit from the horrifying Freudian revelations.
Well, here's the thing. You twisted the question onto me, carefully sidestepping it yourself. Really, this question was aimed at you. So what's your answer?
Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't have an answer. I'd have, if I was like a producer on the film, or if you were looking at it from that perspective, I'd probably be like, I'm going to hire someone that looks like young my mum.
That's worse though, surely.
Yeah,
surely.
But then I would be like, but I'm not going to film any of those fucking scenes. If you want to hire me as young my dad, I'm not doing those scenes. Whereas you were very quick to be like, I'm going to do those scenes with a.
Well, I feel like let's say we're doing a biopic of my family. My instigation, if you will, is probably a pivotal moment that the whole movie probably hinges on.
That's a very first only child thing to say, Liam. I feel like my inception is probably not that big. I mean, that is as big as all the others, but with a brother and a sister, probably not that huge.
No, true. Yours was probably an accident.
Nice.
So, you know, that's mean.
That is mean. I'm cancelling the podcast.
It's funny, though. Oh, shit, I need to transition from that to D&D.
Do you want me to ask you?
No, I've got it.
Okay.
So, one of the things that happens in the movie...
Yeah? Go on. I know what... Just for the listeners, I know what he's segueing to here, so I'm really interested in what this is.
Right. They do some drugs in the movie.
Okay.
And, I mean, it's hard to spoil a movie when it's about someone's life, especially if you know about that life, okay? So I don't want to give too much away, but let's just say there's some drugs in the movie, and there's also a little bit of disease. Now, another way of saying drugs and disease is saying D&D.
Wow.
And that brings me nicely onto what I'm going to be doing tomorrow night.
That's how impressed I was.
It's pretty good, wasn't it?
No, it was terrible.
Fuck off. So, you've done D&D before. Again, we're talking Dungeons and Dragons, not drugs and diseases.
No, I haven't done drugs and diseases before, but I have done Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, but both me and Jack are D&D free when you're talking about drugs and diseases, but when you're talking about Dungeons and Dragons,
I have been fully infected.
Yeah, I tried it with your help.
Yeah.
And you let the team down. It completely fell apart. It was a horrible first experience.
No, you're very quick to shove the blame on someone when something goes wrong.
Right.
I will quite happily admit that it was my fault. Like, I hadn't checked that box. But then I didn't, at the time, I wasn't writing my own stuff for it.
No, but not showing up with half the rules is a bad start.
Yeah, but you know what I'm like with, like... I don't know if you do know what I'm like with games and like board games, but I'm very careful about keeping all the stuff together.
I didn't know that, nor did I care.
Like, it's like, considering how messy I am in every other aspect of my life, my like where games are and stuff. I always hated people doing the putting a disc in a different box and that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, same. I'm the same. Like films, games. Yeah, completely the same. Still.
I assume it had been taken out and put into a different box, or like when I packed it away, maybe the only time I'd played that box before it.
Right. Now, that's a lot of excuses you've given me. The end result is still that it was not a pleasurable first experience to Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, but I feel like it hasn't jaded you against Dungeons and Dragons.
No, it just, as someone that was full of optimism for it. What was that, sorry?
I said sorry. Yeah, I said it. That's because you realise that's not what D&D is.
What do you mean?
It's not when you go to a D&D thing. It's not going to be a dungeon master being like, let me just double check.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I don't know what happens. Also, we had fun doing that. There were still good moments.
There was I can really only remember one moment from the whole thing because I think we didn't get past the first encounter because...
No, I think you did get past the first encounter.
Barely.
I mean, some of that was your fault because you nearly got your entire party killed in the first 10 seconds of the game.
Anyway, so tomorrow night, my local comic book shop, which has recently opened, is hosting a D&D session for beginners.
Yeah.
Now, as someone who I think it's fair to say I'm approaching this as a beginner, I'm not even going to make reference to the fact that I've tried to play it once.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. Do you have any advice?
Yes. Well, I have advice specifically for you.
Okay.
So if listeners are listening and they're like, "Well, I wanted to start Dungeons and Dragons. What's Jack's words of wisdom on this?" Right?
Yes.
This is specifically targeted at Liam because I know I can't trust him to be with other people.
Yes.
Right. So when you do it,
yes,
you've got to remember that as a player character, because I assume you're all going, I assume it's the Dungeon Master's the guy that knows what he's doing, sort of thing.
That would be a nice change, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm guessing that's what's going to happen. So, you've got to remember that it's not just your story, it's everyone's story.
Okay.
Because I feel like you're the kind of person that would very much love it if Dungeons and Dragons turned into Liam and Liam.
No, that's not what I want at all. I wouldn't like that pressure on my shoulders to save the world.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily... I feel like you could very easily be like centre of attention character.
No, I've already decided. I mean, I don't know how much choice I'm going to get in my character creation.
To be fair, if they're doing it as a starter thing, they'll probably give you pre-built characters.
Yes. So one question I have for you.
Yeah.
Doing an accent for my character. Yay or nay?
It's a no because it's going to be really difficult for you to do it the entire time.
But only when I'm talking as my character. So obviously I could be
think about how often you speak when you're interacting with people in real life, Liam. That's how often you're going to have to do it in Dungeons and Dragons.
Not really, because I'd be like, right, I want my character... Because obviously I'm going to be asking a lot of questions. So can my character go and talk to the innkeeper? They'd be like, I assume they say, yeah, sure. And then I'd be like, right, well, my character says to the innkeeper, okay, laddie, how are we doing today?
Yeah, so no, don't do accents.
Why not?
I'll bring you back to my first point about the centre of attention thing. That would be one such instance where you would fixate everyone on you being a twat.
But when I've seen people play D&D, the most fun ones to watch are when everyone gets into it and does accents and differentiates their characters.
So if you go there, right? So this is what a lot of it is. It depends on where you're playing it with and who you're playing it with.
Yeah.
So if you go there and everyone else is doing accents and the Dungeon Master is doing loads of accents for people and everyone's doing funny voices, then go for it because that's the game they want to play. But the thing that I think would ruin it would be if you were to go, right? Say there's 3 other people doing it with you who are all players.
Yeah.
And they're all not doing that. It would be really easy to make their experience of their first Dungeons and Dragons game not fun by you doing that. Because what if you get people that go in there to play a serious game and you do that accent? That doesn't fit in with the universe they're creating.
No, but I'm sorry. Just because I'm doing an accent doesn't mean it can't be serious.
Oh, I forget that you couldn't hear what you just did. Yeah, no, it would make it really unserious.
No, because so I would like to play Carlos the Dwarf, okay? If I can have my way, if I get that choice in my character creation. Now, again, I don't know how much backstory I'm going to be able to invent for him.
I feel like they're not going to ask you to make a character.
But if they did, it's good. It's good to come prepared, right?
Yep.
So a couple of ideas that I've been throwing around. Carlos the Dwarf.
As a dungeon master, right? You tell me these ideas, and I'll genuinely tell you what I would have told one of my players if they presented this character to me.
He's Carlos the Dwarf.
Yep.
Age 37.
Pardon?
He's 37.
37. Sorry, I misheard and thought you said 7.
No, 37.
Yep, cool, got you.
He's not had an easy life. He's husband to a murdered wife, son to a... I don't even want to... It's quite...
Were you meant to say father to a murdered son there?
No, his wife was murdered.
Okay.
Did I say father or did I say husband?
You said husband to a murdered wife.
Yeah, that's right. His mother...
Son to a...
Yeah, his mother was raped by a giant. She was split in half.
Okay.
Okay. Now, his father committed suicide because he couldn't deal with the fact that he couldn't protect his wife.
Yep.
No siblings. He at the age of 24, he got married.
Yep.
She was killed by orcs. It was horrendous. They peeled her skin off and ate it in front of her and made him watch because he's a bit of a gambler, okay? And there were some debts that he couldn't quite pay. So he feels a lot of guilt for what happened to his wife. He doesn't know that she was actually pregnant at the time. So that's a little nugget that I could give the Dungeon Master if he wants to slip in at any point.
Wait, sorry, he doesn't? Your character doesn't know that?
No.
How would that ever slip into the story then?
Well, the Dungeon Master would know it, wouldn't it?
But how would that ever slip into the story if she was killed by orcs?
Maybe the orcs that killed her knew.
Right, sorry, yeah, carry on. Didn't mean to distract you. I've got lots of points to make. I'm just...
Maybe she had friends that she told before she told
fine.
Carlos.
No, carry on with the story. I distracted you.
Yeah.
Continue.
That's it, basically. He's feeling very guilty. He's joined this band of mercenaries, or whatever the fuck they are, to try and kind of do some good in the world, because he feels like his life so far has brought nothing but bad.
Okay. Can you just really quickly, for the listeners, can you just do the accent again? Just so they can associate this story with the character you're doing.
Alright. Could you maybe ask me a question as like an innkeeper or something, and I'll respond as Carlos?
Yeah, okay. I'm an innkeeper. Hi, what can I do for you?
Oh, it's been a long, hard day. I don't know if you know this, but my mum, it's hard to talk about.
Don't
to be honest,
story again.
The
innkeeper immediately.
To be honest,
so
I don't feel comfortable describing what happened to a stranger.
Everyone's moved away from you at the bar.
Since you asked,
you're alone.
I'm just looking into a glass of whiskey. It takes me back.
I carry on the story without you.
I remember the night as if it was just yesterday. I was a wee laddie.
Okay, we don't need to hear any more, buddy.
In came a giant.
Everyone's got the story.
Cock rock hard.
Jesus Christ.
Me
I'm
mum.
giving you so many outs.
Her eyes.
Don't do this.
Wide with fear.
Just ignoring them.
Me papa. He didn't know what to do.
The accent's terrible.
I was crying.
It's the worst thing
She was torn asunder. Blood streamed from her body.
How old is he when he sees this?
5.
Cool. Okay, got you.
So, you know...
Can I just run through some points then?
Well, can I just also say, I feel like the accent doesn't make that funny. The accent did not make that story funny.
Oh, no, it doesn't. No, you're right.
Yeah.
That accent doesn't make it funny, which is what makes the accent so absolutely horrible. Because it's not a good enough accent to be done seriously. It's just a stupid accent. So, even though you're not trying to do the accent to be funny with that character...
No, not at all.
It immediately makes him a comical character.
But it's not a funny story.
No.
He's had a difficult life.
Which is one of the issues that you'll have with other players when they're like, oh, I see what we're doing here. Okay, let's get a bit upbeat. Let's have a bit of a joke. And then your character's the most depressing thing I've ever heard. So let me just run through what I'd say to one of my players if they'd come to me with a character like that.
Yeah, right? Okay, yeah.
I'd have gone, 1, Carlos. That's not a dwarven name.
Fuck off!
In my setting, in my campaign... Okay, so immediately, if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, right, and a DM says to you, that doesn't fit with my setting.
Yeah.
You change your character. You don't get to do it the other way.
Yeah, but I feel like the only reason you enjoy being the Dungeon Master in Dungeons and Dragons is so you can be a dictator to everyone and be like, you've got to play it my way. I'm not going to play with you if you don't play it my way.
You've immediately started sulking, and the only point I've made so far is that the name isn't good.
Exactly, that's a ridiculous thing to be like, you're not allowed a name. It's a name. I don't think children should be called Apple. But I'm not going to go over to them and be like, in my world, that doesn't exist.
No, okay, so hear me out. Before you get angry, okay?
It's too late.
Okay, well, keep being angry, but still hear me out.
I'm listening.
So, the name is bad, not just because it's not a particularly dwarven name, but because your character's story is so dark that having a character with a weird name, again, doesn't really fit what you're doing there. You've got 3 parts of this thing: the story, the name, and the accent, 2 of which would make people believe it's a comedy character.
Can I give you some advice as a Dungeon Master?
No, I'm still going.
No, I don't even care. Well, before you carry on, I'm just going to keep talking until you let me say what I need to say, and I'm the one that's editing, so I can choose whose audio gets priority.
I get to upload this episode.
Right, but can I just say, some advice for you as a Dungeon Master: if you don't like a character name, maybe before just being like, you can't have it, maybe ask, why were you called that? Because what if there's a good reason why he's called Carlos?
Alright, what's your good reason? no thinking, what's the good reason you have that your dwarf is called Carlos?
His grandpapa was Spanish.
Right. Okay, there's an issue, because Spain doesn't exist in the universe I've created, Liam.
Yeah, but this character isn't in your universe, is it? It's in the one that I'm going to tomorrow night.
The whole point of me doing this for you was to help you with what's going to happen.
I'm not finding it helpful.
I feel like you're being very stubborn. So if this guy goes to you, you can make a character.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you say all that, and he turns around and goes, oh, well, so typically in D&D, I'm going to do it legitimately as if I don't know you, okay?
Yeah, so let's roleplay this.
Okay, I'm the DM. You've just told me that story.
Okay, so you own a comic book shop, right?
Yep, that's fine.
What's your revenue like?
It's not much, but we're doing enough to get by.
It's quite new, though, isn't it? Do you anticipate it increasing?
Yeah, I'm probably going to get some more stock in the years to come, I imagine.
Okay, and so this D&D night that you're doing, what kind of gave you the idea to do that? Have you got a lot of experience with D&D?
I think it's really good to give back to that community that's been so supportive. The fact that I can even open a comic book shop in these times is exceptional, so I think it's good to do things for the people that give us revenue.
Definitely. How would you feel about maybe expanding your comic book selection, though? Because at the moment, I mean, it's quite limited.
Oh, what sort of thing are you looking for?
Some kind of stuff that's a bit darker than your usual fare. Like Crossed, for example.
Okay, Crossed. Get out of my shop. You're not invited to the D&D night.
No, I am.
Sick bastard.
I've already paid for my ticket.
No one wants you here.
I'd need a refund for my ticket then.
That's fine. I'll pay you to leave.
I'm never coming back and buying comics from your shop again.
You're going to have to cut out so much of this because it's so fucking off topic and weird.
I'm keeping it. Yeah. So we're still well playing. You're a comic book owner. I've come to you. I'm like, I want to be Carlos the Dwarf. You're like, Carlos the Dwarf. Why? And I'm going to tell you why. It's a Freaks and Geeks reference.
Okay. So I say, alright, okay. Legitimate. So you've just said that to me. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say, that seems strange. Just because I don't know, it feels like are you trying to make a serious character?
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like, I don't know, in the future maybe if you're doing a serious character, the way to do it would be, like, not having references to TV shows in the name.
But the thing is, right?
Yeah.
I don't really know dwarven names, because I don't really want to call him Gimli.
Do you want me to give you some?
Sure.
There we go. I haven't got any off the top of my head, Liam, but he will have the...
No, whoa! This is role-playing! You just
Liam,
stepped out of character!
Liam, shush. I am the dungeon master in real life. So what he would then do, Liam, is get out the player's handbook, which has a list of names for every race. He'd say, do any of these suit you?
What if Carlos was listed as one of the dwarven names?
It's 100% not.
But why not? Like, okay, can I just say...
It could be. You're trying too hard to do all these different aspects of the character. Why is it so important to you that it has the stupid name?
It's not a stupid name!
It is a stupid name.
It's Carlos!
Yes! What a fucking stupid name for a dwarf.
Wow. I hope we have no dwarven listeners named Carlos.
Right. If we have any fantasy dwarves named Carlos listening, write us in.
I hope we get some.
And give us your backstory, because if it's that your mother was raped to death by giants, and then a few years later your wife was killed by orcs, then I will say fair enough. Someone's done it.
Can I just point out though, dwarves aren't real, so I don't feel like we should give them real names.
You did give it a real name. You called it Carlos.
Yeah, I know. You were like, oh, it's not a real dwarven name. It's like, well, dwarves aren't a real thing.
No, but okay,
name it whatever the fuck you want.
Right. Okay, so genuinely, right, this is genuinely me being serious.
Yeah.
Right, for a dungeon master, okay, yes. So when my guys got together and we were starting to do this, I sent everyone, like, a message, like maybe a month in advance, and I was like, start coming up with character ideas, I don't need it now, just let me know what you're thinking, just keep in contact with me, and I'll tell you, I'll try and adapt my universe to fit your character, right?
Okay.
So I gave them that thing, I was like, that's fine. Then, for a month, I sat down and I created maps and I created a universe. People would then give me stuff that they wanted in it. I'd say, yep, I can fit that in somewhere. I figured it all out. Mm-hmm. So if a player had then turned around to me and gone, no, I really want my dwarf to be called Carlos. And I was like, right, well, I've just spent hours of my life creating this thing for you. And you've sat down for 10 seconds and gone, I want to be a dwarf named Carlos. Yeah. My thing gets priority because I have dedicated horrible amounts of time.
Here's the weird thing. From a player's perspective, what makes that bizarre is the fact that the name is such a minor thing to like fit into that world. If I was like, because
it would be so distracting. For your character.
It's not. If I was like, I want to be a dwarf, but I have magical flying capabilities, then fair enough. That doesn't fit into your world. That makes sense. It's just a fucking name. Maybe his parents were high on whatever dwarven drugs they've got in the mountains, and giggling off their tits one night while pregnant, they came up with the name Carlos because they just liked the sound of it.
Again, so the main issue with your character, if you came up to me and said, I want a dwarf named Carlos, right?
Yeah.
And you gave me any other backstory, my dwarf was in a travelling circus as a child. His parents would partake in parties and drugs, and they had this wild life, and they like took inspiration from all the cultures they visited.
Okay, that happened.
And they were like, my child is called Carlos.
Yeah.
I would be fine with that.
Alright, so
makes
that's...
sense.
Right.
Yours were raped to death by giants.
Right. So let me just make an addendum. Before they were raped to death by giants, they were in a circus.
You don't get the best part of two stories. You can't be the tragic character and the comedy character.
I don't want to. I just want to be the tragic. Well, yeah, I want to be...
called Carlos.
I just don't understand it.
I know you don't, buddy. I know. I feel like you derailed this conversation to a weird place with your goddamn story. What other advice do you want about D&D?
I'm going to hope they make characters for us to be.
They are. They're going to have made characters for you, 100%.
Do you think they'll let us name them?
No. I'm going to ring the comic book shop and be like, don't let them name them.
Other advice, just generally. So, okay, so the accent thing you said is a big no unless everyone else is doing it, right?
Yeah.
But
or unless you can do it, unless it's like a subtle accent that you like, you can do a different voice for your character.
What if it's a bit growly like that? You know,
yeah, that'd be fine.
Bit like
but little
Ross
things,
Kemp.
don't make it over the top is the main thing.
Nah, a bit Ross Kemp, fucking gangsters and shit. Fucking, I say miserable stuff, man.
That's probably another bit of advice. Maybe watch the swearing until other people, unless you've established what their attitude is on that.
Yeah, of course. I'm just, this is the podcast. Our attitude towards swearing is we don't give a fuck.
It tends to be a bad idea copying an actual character and just doing that.
What, Ross Kemp isn't a character, he's a person.
Yeah.
Ross Kemp, the character.
Good job, you caught me out. Wow. You spent 30 minutes discussing Carlos the Dwarf. But yeah, no, you're right. Ross Kemp isn't a real person, so my bad.
Yeah. Maybe if you spent less time building these fantasy worlds and living in the real one, you'd know that.
Oh, you're a son of a bitch. I hope you go there tomorrow, right? In all seriousness, I hope you get there, you start playing, and the guy just rips into you the entire time. He's like, what a shit choice you are making. And then at the end he's like, I never want you here again. And he burns the cross books in front of you.
Anyway, you've spent a lot of time yelling at me about things I'm doing wrong. So maybe you could tell me what to do right. And I'm going to listen, completely open-minded. I might even make some notes if you say some good things. So okay, tell me
genuinely
what I could do right.
Like, if you go there and just be up for it.
What if someone else does the accent first?
If they do a normal accent... If they do any accent, I beg you not to do an accent, because I feel like you would very easily misinterpret their accent and think that yours was on the same level as theirs.
Okay, what if I don't do an accent? What if I just change my voice a little bit? Like you said, like,
fine.
Like if I start talking like this.
That's too much.
I don't know how to do it in a way that's not more like
yes,
less.
Don't fucking do one.
But right, so now someone else is there. They're doing an accent. They've got a different voice. Another person's there. They've got a different voice. I've got to be the boring one that doesn't...
a slightly different voice.
Right, how? Like,
I don't know. I can't teach you how to do a different voice.
This is me trying to do a slightly different dwarven voice.
It's too much.
How do I make it less?
Just go less.
But I don't... Oh, how about this?
I mean, yeah, I guess if your character's like a weird dock worker who smoked a lot and is confused...
honestly...
Oh, is this alright? I want an ale, please. Oh, he's a bit of a dimwit.
You're putting me off of going tomorrow.
Oh, I'm worried about you going tomorrow. I was fine with it till now.
You've put me right off.
I'm really worried for you.
I don't know if I want to do it.
No, go and do it. Just don't... You're trying too hard. Don't try.
Alright, do you have any other advice?
Yeah, just go and learn. There we go.
Right. God, I wish you'd opened with that. It might have saved us a lot of time.
I don't think it would have, because I still think you would have wanted to do the silly character and the annoying voices and the horrible sex scenes. Oh yeah, that's probably my main bit of advice. Seriously, keep off the sex stuff.
All of it?
Yeah, there's no point in it.
Well, babies.
It will just be you getting centre of attention, even if you don't mean to.
What if I've got a wife? Actually, fair point. They never have sex, do they? Yeah.
You think that the dungeon master's going to go, you're all in a tavern. Oh, Liam's character's got a wife. She's there.
She wants a quick hanky-panky in the bathroom, so he's going to be preoccupied.
I don't think you need to worry about it, because it's not going to happen.
It might.
It's not. Can we please move on?
Can you just give me some good advice that I can take away?
I've genuinely given you as much advice as I can.
No, give me like one real good thing that we can end it on, and then we can move on.
I don't know what advice you want.
Just say have fun.
No.
Oh, well, that's good advice.
Because I know what you having fun is like.
What's it like?
It would be you sitting down and the player opposite you is like, oh, I'm playing an elf. And then you're like, I bet elves have got big penises. And then you'd be like, my character grabs his penis out. And everyone would be like, please don't do this.
I think my dwarf's got a little stubby one, though, so I don't think he's going to be particularly proud of swinging that about.
I hope you don't get to play a dwarf. I hope they make you a human.
I don't want that.
Well, it might happen.
Nerd news! What's been happening in the world of nerd?
Nothing. Everyone's dead.
Culture swap! Woo! Swap my culture!
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm going to go first so we can end on a more positive note.
I hate you so much.
So, Jack, what did you make me watch this week?
I suggested that you watch Attack on Titan, one of the greatest animes in the last 5-10 years.
Okay. As listeners of the last episode will know, it's not that I'm necessarily against anime, I'm just very indifferent to it. So, I've dabbled. I've seen a couple of Studio Ghibli movies.
And a couple of teenage girl animes.
Yeah, which wasn't very good. I've seen a genuinely really, really great movie that was an anime called Barefoot Gen that, to me, is the pinnacle of anime. I've loved it.
Yeah, but that's an anime movie.
No, of course. Anyway. It's a different thing, yes, but I loved it, okay?
Yeah, TV show-wise, you've seen...
Nothing.
One teen girl...
Oh yeah, I've seen a show called Rumbling Hearts, which maybe wasn't the best entry to anime, I would admit.
Probably not.
But, whatever. That's all I've seen. So, my point basically with this is, I'm not against anime from a artistic perspective, or like a visual perspective, should we say. I've also, may I point out, seen Digimon and Pokemon, which I do believe count.
No, they don't.
How do they not count?
Because they're children's TV shows from Japan. They're anime. They're still anime.
Okay, good. That's what I mean. They count as anime.
But it's like watching Rick and Morty, which is an adult cartoon from the UK and America. No, it's from America. I don't know why I said the UK.
Just say South Park.
And it's like comparing... Yeah, alright. It's like comparing South Park to... I don't know any... Peppa Pig.
Okay, but here's my thing. If I really liked Peppa Pig, right...
Yeah.
I don't know my point.
Were you going to say you would probably like South Park? Because I feel like that is definitely not true. I don't think 3-year-olds that love Peppa Pig are going, Mum, yeah. I feel like I need to escalate to South Park now.
Anyway.
No, I get what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, so
everyone's seen Pokemon and Digimon. They don't count in the same way because they're good even if you don't like anime.
Exactly, and that's my point. I'm not saying I have any opposition to anime in general, okay?
Definitely felt like you did last week.
No, I was just saying I'm indifferent to it. When I see anime like appear on Netflix or whatever, it's very rare that I'll be like, oh, I want to watch that. Like, yeah. I don't have that draw to it, shall we say. But you told me that Attack on Titan was, I think you said it was one of the best animes as like an entry point.
No, I said there were people who've watched it who didn't like anime before but now love anime.
Okay. Would you also say this was an adult anime?
Yes.
Right, okay. Didn't get that, personally. So I watched the first 6 episodes, right?
Well, wait, by an adult anime, what do you mean? Do you mean like made for like 30-year-old men?
No, just for a mature audience, so 18 plus.
Oh yeah, then yeah, I would, based on the gore.
I would say 15.
I don't know, what can you show in a 15?
Quite a lot.
Oh, fair. Maybe it is a 15 then, yeah, I don't know. Either way, it's older than like a young teenage audience.
Yeah, it's a teenage audience, I think, is the point.
Oh, okay, I disagree on that, but yeah, okay.
15 plus.
Yeah, but I don't think it was aimed at 15-year-olds.
No, I don't know Japanese culture well enough to even begin to say who this was aimed at.
Okay.
Okay, and I don't know its origins because I'm assuming it started in print.
Yeah, it was a manga. Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't really know its origins. I'm just coming to this very fresh.
Yep.
Without a lot of background to anime. The story is basically...
Just to remind the viewers, you are only 6 episodes into it, which is what we said the rules are.
Yeah, exactly. And
so
really,
you're not. I'm just saying you're not saying when you say the story.
I mean, of the 6 episodes,
everything.
No, of course. So I can only talk about. I've only seen the 6 episodes. That's all I can talk about. So the story so far, we have a land that's unnamed. In this land, there's a walled-in city, and there's 3 sections, shall we say, 3 barriers. In this land, these things, these giants exist. They
use the proper term, Liam. It's in the title.
These titans exist.
Thank you.
They eat people.
Yep.
And there's also a couple of real big bad titans. They're given names. One's called like an armoured titan.
There's the Colossal Titan and the Armoured Titan.
Colossal and Armoured Titan. That's all I've seen so far. There might be other big bads. And the first episode basically starts with the Colossal Titan just appearing out of nowhere, smashes a hole in the first wall defence, and then disappears. And we kind of see this story primarily from a child's perspective. Our main character, at this point, appears to be a character named Eren.
Yeah.
Again, I apologise, I'm probably butchering the pronunciations of these names. I'm sorry.
No, I think it is Eren or Erin.
Yeah, but I am a myopic, imperialistic douchebag, so I will get these names wrong.
You're also a bit of a dickhead.
Well, he's got a blonde friend called Armin, who in one of the episodes is described as being like a daffodil, which I quite liked. And there's also a female called Mikasa, and it's not until episode 6 that you really figure out her story, because for the first 5 episodes, I genuinely couldn't decide if they were sisters or in a relationship or just friends.
Well, it'd be weird if they were sisters, seeing as Eren is a boy.
Okay.
So that would make
siblings.
it really confusing.
If they were siblings, in a relationship, or just friends. Like, the first 5 episodes I was confused, and then you kind of start to get a bit of her backstory in episode 6.
Yeah.
Now, episode 6 was my favourite episode.
Yeah.
And here's why.
You can't say sorry, yeah, go on.
I can't stand Eren as a character. He is insufferable.
Yeah, you said this to me earlier, and what makes you not like him?
Okay, well, let me just explain. The first 6 episodes take place over the span of 5 years, okay? Mm-hmm. Eren is portrayed as a very hot-headed, angry boy, essentially. So in the first episode, his mother dies, which does seem to be... I was saying this to you before. There seems to be a trope in anime, and I'm not sure if it's a regular thing. I haven't seen enough to know.
I think it must be really difficult for someone to say something's a trope after admitting to seeing 2 anime TV series, not including Digimon and Pokemon, and 2 anime films, maybe.
3.
I think it's a little bit presumptuous for you to say it's a trope, but go on.
Right, is there... Okay, as someone who's more of an expert in anime, is there a theme of leaving a parent behind?
Not that I've particularly noticed. I mean...
I saw it in Pokemon, and now I've seen it in this. That's all.
I think, but it's different in Pokemon than this. Pokemon is a boy going out to experience the world, and his mother being
left behind.
Safe.
Left behind, yeah.
But safe.
Yeah.
This is about a boy who has his mother killed.
Yeah, so she gets killed by one of the Titans in the first episode. And yeah, another thing that I'm assuming is going to be resolved later is we never found out the fate of his father.
Are you sure you don't?
No. At the current point in time, in the morning, the father went off to an appointment because he's a doctor, and then the Titans attacked.
Oh, okay, I'm trying to remember.
Yeah. So anyway, so the story's told from the viewpoint of these 3 children who, over the course of 5 years, in these first episodes, enlist in what is essentially a Titan defense army.
Yeah.
So the first 2 episodes is all about the Titans breaching the wall and essentially wiping out 1/3 of the population.
Mm-hmm.
The next 2 episodes are all about training in the military, and then on their graduation day, conveniently, the Titans return to breach the second wall.
Yep.
So Eren, who appears to be our main character, as I said, very hot-headed, very quick to anger, and he just has a real bee in his bonnet about fighting. He's a little psychopath. He's kind of how I imagine you were as a child, where he's like real eager to prove himself and to just fight, and he's like...
I don't think I was eager to fight, but I know what you mean. I was quite hot-headed as a kid.
Yeah, hot-headed is a great way of describing it. And he's very much like, oh, I'm just going to kill all the Titans. I can't wait till I can just kill all the Titans. He's very naive. Yeah. And I find that hard to get behind as a character. Like, he's also not given any redeeming qualities. It's literally, we're expected to be on his side because his mum died. Let's ignore the fact that 1/3 of the population died.
I don't think you are. I think you're... See, this is what I was sort of... I don't know, not worried you'd do, because I don't think I would have predicted that this was the thing that was going to be an issue.
Okay.
But, right, and I'm not saying... I'm not going to do the whole, like, well, I've seen more of it, so...
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. From in those 6 episodes, I know what you're saying.
Yes.
I think he's meant to be like that in the beginning. Because, right, so you're like, one of your favourite genres of movies is the coming-of-age story, right?
Yeah, and I get what you're saying.
Attack on Titan becomes a coming-of-age story.
Yeah, and in episode 5, something does happen to him where I'm hoping later on it kind of brings some realisation to him, shall we say?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing spoilers. People know we do spoilers here.
Okay, in episode 5, he gets eaten by a Titan.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm hoping... I'm assuming he's not dead.
I mean, I don't want to spoil it.
No, exactly. I'm just assuming... The fact that we've spent this amount of time with this character, I'd be surprised if they had the balls to kill him. But he's eaten by a Titan.
Episode 6, Liam. Is he in episode 6?
He isn't. But episode 6... Well, no, okay, wait. He isn't in modern day, but he features predominantly in a flashback.
Yeah.
So, like I said, he's still very much the main character, although episode 6 does shift its focus to Mikasa, which is why it was my favourite episode, because she is a much more interesting character.
Yeah, she's a really good character, Mikasa.
She is. I also really like Armin, to be fair, the friend.
Yeah, he's good because I love the fact that he, like, changes so much.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen a lot of change in him so far.
But yeah, it's just that he's got that, like, I love the fact that it's a character that's, like, traditionally would be the wimpy character.
Yeah.
But then he's got, like, that iron backbone.
Exactly. Yeah, I think the description was something like, he's like a daffodil, but he has, like, a lot of determination or something, is the way he was described. So yeah, I didn't like the main character, and I found him really hard to get behind in the first 6 episodes. I'm completely understanding that, you know, when you've got, I think it's like 25 episodes to play with, characters are going to change. I mean, look at Dawson's Creek. Those characters change season to season. So, I personally thought that the Titans could be depicted as a bit more threatening. At the moment, they seem almost gormless.
See, I think that, again, they are... Well, not again. They are gormless, but it's like... Because it's sort of... Is it the Colossal Titan?
Yeah, he looks cool. The big Titans look cool.
And it sort of seems to imply, from what I remember in those episodes, that the Colossal and the Armoured Titan can think, almost, or seem to have... like, the fact that the Armoured Titan knows to hit the gates.
Yeah, we've... In episode 5, they figure out that they've got intelligence.
Yeah, but, like, the smallest ones are the stupidest, isn't it? Is that
and that's what we've seen so far. For me, I didn't find it particularly gory.
It's not hugely gory.
No, and this is why there's one, there's not a lot of gore, and 2, there's not a lot of language, which is why I'm surprised you're saying it's like for an adult audience. In all honesty, I think you could get away with maybe even having this as like a 12A certificate.
There's quite a few that, while it's not gory, it's pretty horrifying the way people are eaten and stuff. And they don't like skimp on the gore particularly, do they, when they're eating people?
You see a little bit of blood splatter.
It doesn't like cut away and show a plant pot.
No.
Because that's like an anime thing that they do in the ones where they're trying to hide the gore. Is that like someone's about to get cut in half, so it cuts to like a picture of a waterfall.
Right. Yeah, that's not quite what happens in this. I've just checked. So the DVD release in the UK got a 15 certificate.
Yeah.
Which doesn't massively surprise me.
No, that's fair enough.
So yeah, it's not...
I think I meant it was just more adult than what I'd have imagined you'd expected from an anime. Or what, not necessarily you, but what most people would expect. Because I think most people see anime and they think kids' cartoons from Japan.
Okay, and that's not what I think of when I see them.
I know that's not what you think, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, so the best anime that I've seen is Barefoot Gen, and that is not a kid's film.
No.
It's beautiful, but it's not a kid's film. Another criticism is, for the majority of the time, the animation is really impressive. Every now and again, there's a scene where it just looks lazy, and I think it's because, in comparison to the stuff that looks really impressive, when you have a scene, and it's a crowd, and it's not animated, the camera just pans, it really sticks out like a sore thumb, and you kind of think, why didn't they animate it?
But I think that's from the art style itself, not from this particular show in general.
I think it's because I read a news report when I was doing my research for this episode of the podcast, where it said that early on in the show they ran out of animators, and they actually took to Twitter to ask for animators if they could come in and work on the show.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, fair enough. I do now. I sort of remember something like that, and is it that show or is it a different one? I'm trying to remember if I know there is an anime. I'm pretty positive it's Attack on Titan, and I'm sure that one of my friends was like, for the first part of the series, there is some of that. Like, I've forgotten this until you're saying that news story.
Yeah.
I sort of remember someone saying that, and that they were like, but after that, all of the good stuff, it becomes all good. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the last couple of episodes were a lot better than the first few. It's just a shame because I guess first impressions, you normally in American TV at least, you find the pilot is the one that will really try and grab your attention.
See, I guess they try, but I don't know how often that lasts, because the number of times I've been told to watch a series and being told specifically, but you need to keep going till like episode 6 or 3 or 4, because that's the episode where it gets better.
Exactly, and the reason for that, I think, is normally with the the way the pilot system works, is pilots like kind of go balls to the wall to try and get your attention,
okay.
But then it takes a couple of episodes to kind of everything to settle and it to find its feet once they've been picked up. And then once you get past that initial like teething period, then the show kind of settles into its groove almost.
Yeah, okay.
So obviously, I assume anime is done differently.
Not necessarily. I don't.
But we don't know.
It hasn't got pilots.
Yeah,
I don't really know.
For me, the biggest issue is really how annoying Eren is, and also their kind of weapon against Titans is they have this like belt that kind of shoots out. The best way to try and picture it, if you haven't seen the show, is they're kind of like Spider-Man, right? They have these belts that kind of shoot out these like wires with hooks on, and it allows them to essentially swing through the town.
Yeah, because the only weakness that Titans have
is the back of their necks.
Yeah.
So, and they use that, and to attack them they have swords. So they've got this belt on, they can shoot from their waist, not really explain how it's controlled, and then that frees their hands.
That's a very like Japanese
it's
thing,
not,
isn't it?
The fact that they haven't explained it isn't a criticism.
It's mystical ninja, isn't it? It's the mystical ninja thing, but they've given it some semblance of a reality.
Exactly. The fact that they haven't explained how these wires works isn't a criticism. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Yeah. So you've got these wires like that swing around, that allows them to kind of fly around the city, essentially, like Spider-Man, but their hands are free to hold swords, so they can attack Titans on the back of the neck to kill them. The issue is, one, it's not an ideal method, and the very first time they try and use those to take down Titans, the Titans kind of quickly cotton onto the fact that they can just grab the wires and ruin everything for them.
Yeah, but I think that's cool. I like that as a...
Yeah, I like that they've addressed that it's not ideal.
Because, but that's, like, instead of just being, like... So if you watch something like Naruto or something...
Okay.
In that... So Naruto is ninja powers, and, like... There's a lot of times where it's just, like, there's not a limit to his power. It's, like, this is what his power does, and if you can beat that, that's fine. Whereas this is, like... Because I feel like the idea is that you're with Eren at the beginning, and he idolizes the military.
Yes.
And you're meant to like assume they're these like elite force of Titan slaying badasses.
Well, I think you quickly cotton on to the fact that they're not by the fact that you see them in the first episode retreating and acting very cowardly.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
But then like I like that sort of the idea that they've got this stuff, but then like when you first learn to use it, you're just shit.
Yeah.
Because is it in those first... It is in those first 5 episodes, because I double-checked this morning, but where, like, one of them is they send them all out to recapture one of the walls or something?
Yeah. That I think happened in the last episode. They were just about to go and do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the last episode, so Eren gets eaten, sort of, in episode 5.
I mean, where you are, yes, he's been eaten.
Yeah, I'm assuming he's coming back. In episode 6, the focus shifts to Mikasa, and you see her backstory, how she met Eren, and the episode ends with her basically saying, as long as I know Eren's still alive, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming she's going to find out in the next episode what's happened. And then, I don't know how they're going to bring him back, how they're going to save him, but I'm sure they will somehow.
See, right, so, this isn't me anymore reviewing those first 6 episodes.
Yeah.
I'm just going to, in all seriousness, right, please carry on watching it.
I probably will. Like, the thing...
There's the stuff they start introducing. Like, I get what you're saying about these first episodes, and now that you're saying them, and I've been reminded of like what happens in them.
Yeah,
it is at the moment, it's a very not generic anime, but it's like there's not particularly been any like interesting twists and turns yet.
Yeah,
the show starts to go, it goes darker, not necessarily more gory or anything, but darker
in themes.
Yeah, and the sort of twists and turns that start happening start to be really interesting, and you'll want to like figure it out.
What I will say, I didn't hate the show. I think these first 6 episodes, they very much are just an introduction to everything. And, if they don't change the main character, and from what you're saying, it sounds like they might, if they didn't, it would be a very difficult watch. Because this main character is just really hard to get behind. Like, so hot-headed, has a real beef about being compared to livestock, and... just real naive.
It's not that it's like I was saying to you earlier when you texted me this.
Yeah.
It's not so much like the idea of them being livestock is because he thinks humanity is this totally helpless.
Yeah.
They are, because they are effectively they all live in one place,
Yes.
and when the Titans are hungry, they come and eat them.
Yeah.
So, I get that. I get what you're saying, though, that it's, like, maybe used too much, the analogy.
Yeah, it just...
he uses it too much.
Exactly.
It does make sense as a concept.
Yeah, no, as a concept, it makes sense. It's just, it doesn't... For me, that doesn't give me cause to get behind him.
Yeah, but I don't think you're meant to, particularly in the first 6 episodes.
Yeah, which is a shame, because he is such a strong focus. It would almost, for me, be preferable if Mikasa was the main focus, Eren was on the sidelines, and then, if, let's say, Eren is to become the main character, if the focus then shifted, once he stopped being a little shit. Yeah,
but then also, so by that logic, so with a coming-of-age thing... Is that not the same concept? Like, you're meant to start with a character that you don't necessarily... that is doing the wrong stuff, and then it's meant to be them learning and becoming a better person?
Sort of. It's not necessarily them doing the wrong stuff, but coming of age is generally about just experiencing more of the world and having your boundaries widened.
Yeah, so you're saying that, like, Eren's this naive guy who is hot-headed, so his solution is, I'm going to kill all the Titans.
Yeah, which is stupid.
Yeah, it is.
But also, bear in mind, I've only seen 6 episodes.
I know.
From what I've seen, I would not have described this as a coming-of-age story.
No, I wouldn't either. I was just saying that that you could draw similarities. I'm not saying it is a coming-of-age thing.
Okay, yeah, the 6 episodes, I mean, so far, from what I've seen, the last thing Evan was still being like, I'm going to go kill all the Titans, and then gets eaten one by one.
I don't think... Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's really my biggest gripe. Now, for me,
that's fair.
What makes the show more interesting is trying to read into it and trying to be like, what does this mean? What's it trying to say? My initial reaction was these Titans clearly represent some sort of nameless threat that is seen as being kind of mindless as well, and how that is kind of pushing in on the Japanese people and limiting their capabilities in a way by restricting them. So for me, naturally, obviously with my previous experiences of anime, I immediately went to, do the Titans represent America? Is that what this is kind of getting at? But equally, that would be kind of hankering back to World War II, and I feel like it's fair to say Japan as a culture has kind of got on from that a little bit. And then doing some research, I found out that actually a popular theory of reading into it is that the Titans represent China.
Yeah, I don't mind people doing that sort of stuff. I just don't get... Like, a lot of times, right, I think it's really... I think it's not easy, but I feel like people want there to be other meanings in things. And I think a lot of time they put a lot of weight on it. Like, I don't imagine that the creator of Attack on Titan, I don't know his name, but I don't imagine he sat down one day and went, guys, I've got a new idea for a show we can do. And they all went, yeah, what is it? And he went, well, it's about Titans, but really, what I really want to make is an anime that is secretly telling everyone that China is an evil force that's going to come and destroy us all. And they went, oh, that's a good idea. Should we make some fluff around it that sort of makes a story? Like, I don't know, it feels like it puts too much weight on... I think that people want to create things, and because of their experiences, that influences what they create. But I don't think they're trying to say...
No, but that's
this is China versus Japan.
No, that's what I was about to say, is... The thing is, these things aren't made in a vacuum. They can't help but be influenced.
Yeah. And I totally agree. I think you're right. I think there will be influences, and that it could represent multiple things. But, like... Because you could just as easily say, like... You could just as easily be, like, it's the idea of... I don't know, like fucking illness. Maybe the Titans represent cancer, and they're slowly eradicating huge swaths of humanity.
Exactly.
And it's just too... I don't know.
I'm not saying that's what this is about.
I know you're not. I know I'm not trying to like start an argument with you. I know that's not what you're
saying. Just saying, personally, I find reading into it more interesting, and I think that's also partly because my previous experience with anime tended to be from an academic perspective, where I had no choice but to read into it. Yeah,
you were literally having to watch it to read into it.
Exactly. So it might just be that I'm still caught up in that mindset when it comes to anime. Also, I do find like Japanese history and culture interesting. I don't know a lot about it, but it's interesting. So I'm just saying, for me, having that going on in the background, even if it wasn't necessarily intended, makes the show more interesting.
That's fair enough, yeah.
Overall, just to wrap this up, based on the first 6 episodes, I would give the show 2.5 out of 5. But I do think I'm going to stick with it. Just maybe another 2 or 3 episodes to see if it gets better.
I think watch more than 2 or 3. I don't know exactly where the bits I'm thinking of start to happen.
Yeah, I kind of want to see how they resolve what happens to Erin. And I think, for me, depending on how they resolve that, is going to depend on if I'm going to stick with it or not.
Okay, that's fair. But there's, I don't know. I think it might be more than 2 or 3 episodes. I think his stuff you'll start to resolve next episode, probably.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming.
Honestly, try and do a few more. Don't just resign yourself to 2 or 3. Because I don't know if that's enough to start the next interesting bit.
But then, equally, so I guess a criticism of this show could be that to get to the interesting bits, you do have to invest however long it takes to get to whatever episode you're on about.
As opposed to the famous American TV shows that everyone loves so much, like Breaking Bad, which I was told, just power through the whole of Series 2.
No, I mean, I get why you were told that. Personally, watching Series 2 for the first time, it was never a difficult, like, I had to power through it.
Oh, I did. I really didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, it was just, for me, with Breaking Bad, Season 3 is where it really felt like it found its feet and the pace really picked up and then the show felt like it had direction. Whereas Season 2, it still kind of felt like it was trying to figure out what it was doing. But I enjoyed the characters enough to just enjoy doing that.
I feel like your idea of a commitment to a show is so much, like, less than mine. Like, you're like, watching 2 or 3 episodes to you feels like you're saying, I'm going to commit to giving it a chance. Whereas to me, that would be like half a series of any show. I'd be like, for me to fairly be like...
So let's bear in mind, if I do another 2 or 3 episodes, that puts me up to episode 9.
And how many episodes are there? 20-something.
20-something, so it's nearly halfway.
So you'd have to get to 3 more after that, so 6. If you commit to doing another 6, then I'll accept that.
Fine, I'll do 6 more and then make a judgment call.
Then I'll and you say, I'm genuinely not enjoying it, I will say, fair enough.
At the end of the day, you know what I'm like. If I start something, I have to finish it, even if I'm not enjoying it. So I probably am going to finish it.
I mean, I'm more concerned that you're going to start, like, finding out who the creator was and have to work through all his other animes as well.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Like, I hate them all.
But I will probably end up finishing the series. It's just how quickly I do that will be very indicative of my enjoyment of it.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
But yeah, personally, I would say as an introduction to anime, it's not something I would recommend to someone as their first anime experience. Just because, like you're saying, for it to get good, there's too much of a time investment. And if I was to recommend an anime to someone, I would want them to be hooked by episode 3.
But I know, like, so one of the guys we had on Blab, who came on for our launch party Blab, Dan Palmer, one of my friends, he doesn't watch anime at all, and he watched Attack on Titan and loves it, and then after watching Attack on Titan was like, what other shows are there that I should be watching?
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not saying that to be like, you're wrong, I'm just saying that to our listeners. If there are people who are still considering, I would always recommend they go and...
Yeah, and bear in mind as well, my sort of taste generally does skew more towards the grown-up spectrum of things.
Says the guy that loves all the coming-of-age stories, and the only other anime he's watched was Rumble Hearts.
Rumbling Hearts.
Liam does love the adult side of life.
Well, let's not say adult side, that sounds a bit naughty, but let's say mature.
The mature side of life.
Yes.
Alright.
But I'm just saying, I imagine there are animes out there that would be more suited to me.
Maybe.
I would hope.
I'm going to endeavour to find stuff.
Yeah, if this is the fucking pinnacle of anime, I've given up on it.
No, but then also it might be the case that, you know, say in the future we find something you're into and that gets your interest going.
Yeah.
And then you come back to Attack on Titan, it might change your outlook on it.
That's very true.
So, you know, I'm just...
Because the other thing to bear in mind, for any listeners that maybe haven't watched Attack on Titan yet, and also bear in mind, we are only doing the first 6 episodes, so even though we've done spoilers, it's nothing massive.
No.
There's still a lot left to go that I haven't even begun to explore yet.
Yeah.
But what I would like to say is, for anyone who's listening that maybe is completely oblivious to anime, you have to go into it expecting things like the pacing and the presentation of the story to be different to what you're maybe used to.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2.5 out of 5, like very middle of the road, average.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll accept that. I'm not gonna... I mean, for me it wouldn't be, but I'm accepting that I can see why you're giving it 2.5.
Yeah, I didn't hate all of it, just a main part of it.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I guess giving it 2.5 out of 5 does give you some indication of how good the secondary characters are.
the fact that you really don't like the main one, but it's still got... Yeah.
Exactly. So that was Attack on Titan. I gave you The Trip.
Yes.
Which, right, I just need to say, before we get into it, one, yeah, it's not a very nerdy show. I'll concede to that. But two, the reason why I gave this to you is because I feel like it's the sort of shit we'd end up doing in about 15 years' time.
Yeah, okay. It's fair.
And I have a question for you about that, which I would like to ask you once you've given us your thoughts.
Okay. So The Trip is Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon. The idea of it is that Steve Coogan has been hired to write reviews for a bunch of pubs and restaurants in the UK, in the north specifically, right?
Yeah.
He at the start you find out he was going to go with his girlfriend, but she's gone to do modelling in America. He's asked a bunch of other people who have all said no, so the last person he calls is Rob Brydon, who is happy to do it.
Yep. And it's worth pointing out they're both playing fictionalised versions of themselves.
Yes, yeah. Like, massively exaggerated. Although I feel like it's based in what people think their personalities are.
Yes, definitely.
Because I feel like that's one of the points the show's trying to make.
Yeah.
But, so basically they go out on this journey, and it's Steve Coogan being this sort of miserable, not willing to meet Rob Brydon halfway, doesn't like the fact that because Rob Brydon is a famous... I don't know if our audience would know who they are.
No, you might want to explain.
Yeah, so Steve Coogan is famous for playing Alan Partridge.
Yep, he is also, it's worth noting, for our American listeners, he's in Night at the Museum.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he is, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so he's like quite famous for doing that, and Rob Brydon is, at the moment, more famous for being like a game showy sort of host, but like a comedy...
Well, he's more on panel shows, so...
Yeah, that's the one, that's what I was
I don't think that they really get panel shows in America.
Yeah, maybe not. But he does a lot of impressions. He's an impressionist.
Yeah.
So, and then that's like one of the... Like, every time they go for meals, it ends up being a competition between the two of them, where Rob Brydon will do an impression, Steve Coogan will say it's a terrible impression and try and do his own, which usually is worse.
Sometimes.
Some of them are good, but and then it's him trying to like critique Rob Brydon.
Yes.
And they sort of there's an episode I think about halfway through where they specifically say Rob Brydon's like, is this just what's going to happen at every restaurant? We start the evening sort of reluctant to talk. We drink some wine and become friends. Then we drink more wine and we fall out. Which is literally what happens at every restaurant they go to in the show.
Yes.
Every time you get to the restaurant scene, it's them being friendly, or no, them being quite cold, them being friendly, them falling out.
Yes.
But it's a bit of a weird show in that there's not like there's not a storyline that you're following that you particularly care about.
No, it almost feels like at times you're just watching these two comedians improvise.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of it was written and how much was improvised,
like there were some
but
scenes
it feels
that probably
improvised.
Because there's a couple of scenes where like you can see one of them is about to laugh or something.
Yes.
And you're like, that doesn't seem like it was in the script. Because I feel like at this point your character's meant to be annoyed.
Yes.
So mainly Steve Coogan.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's odd. Like there's the running story of Steve Coogan and his girlfriend. He tells Rob that they are on a break.
Yeah.
So he like starts trying to sleep with women at all these restaurants and does sleep with quite a few.
Yeah.
And then is also very depressed that his girlfriend's left and wants to get back with her.
And also he's wants to crack America and is struggling to do that as well.
He's trying to get in a feature film in America.
Yeah, and he wants to be taken seriously as an actor.
Yes, which is one of the things, because they're always talking about how they're comedians, and Steve Coogan, like, the character refuses to accept that he's a comedian.
Yes.
But, I don't know, it's very strange. Like, there's a whole... Okay, so I have, like, questions about this, right?
Okay, sure.
There's a scene in, I think, episode 5, where you meet Steve Coogan's assistant in the show.
Yeah.
And she brings a photographer.
Yeah.
And it's all about Steve Coogan is trying to remember if he knows the photographer, which he later finds out he does, and they have had sex before.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Rob Brydon is having this sort of weird thing going on with the assistant.
Yeah, I noticed that. It was very odd.
But there's a scene where he literally is like, he's singing to her.
Yeah.
And then like climbs over a sofa and says, and then she's like, oh no. And he goes, oh, I've misread the signs.
Yes.
And I wasn't sure if they were trying to imply that the character was trying to sleep with her or if I was misunderstanding.
That's the impression I took from it, which did feel really out of character.
Yeah, because the whole time he's like, every night he calls his wife.
Yeah, and it's like, it's supposed to be he's happily married.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if it was meant to be that he was joking at that point.
I honestly don't know. For me, the way I interpret it was he was trying to sleep with the assistant, which, to be fair, she was banging hot. I don't blame him.
Yeah, but it felt weird for the character, and it didn't seem to...
Yeah, it almost felt like, personally, it felt like a scene that they thought was funny, and they'd maybe written it for Steve Coogan, realised that wouldn't quite work, and they didn't want to give up the scene, so they just gave it to Rob Brydon and kind of just ignored the fact that it was really out of character.
Yeah, because that scene specifically really, like, dragged me out of it, and I was like, I don't know what just happened.
I agree with that.
And I don't know why that happened, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the show has no resolution at the end of it.
No, it is literally...
They finish their trip,
yeah,
and they aren't better friends.
No.
Steve Coogan goes back to his flat and turns down a job to go to America.
Yep.
And looks very depressed in his flat, and Rob Brydon has a lovely time with his wife. And you're like, oh, okay. No one's learnt anything.
No, but it's very British in that respect, where it is just, we start miserable, we end miserable.
Yeah, but you say that, but most British shows have, like, story resolution and even if the character doesn't necessarily finish much better than he started, he usually learns some lessons.
But this doesn't have a story.
Anyone does that. But it does. I mean,
it barely has a story.
It barely has a story. But and I think that's a shame, because I think I'd have enjoyed it a lot more.
Yeah.
If there was a story and stuff happening. Because a lot of times I was watching it and I just sort of like, there's like a couple of episodes where you're just like, honestly, these are just the same thing.
Yeah, it is quite repetitive. And I think if you watch it in quick succession, that's emphasised. What I was doing it, I watched one episode a night as I was having my dinner. So it kind of felt like I was having dinner with these people, and we were all just having a good laugh with each other.
Okay.
Like, I'd do an impression, they'd laugh.
Off the loneliness.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But it was just a nice way to have dinner with these people.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because, they're probably not going to in real life.
No, I imagine they won't.
No. But, the other thing is, for me, I could just watch them just interacting. I just found their interactions funny.
It is really, it's funny. Don't get me wrong. Like, the scenes of them, like, falling out over dinner.
Yeah.
Are brilliant. Like, the first episode, they're both doing an impression. I can't remember of who. And they're
Michael
just getting
Caine.
louder. Oh, yeah, and they're just both getting so loud.
Yeah.
And, like, the whole time you're like, everyone in this restaurant must be hating it. And they have a scene where Steve Coogan suddenly just goes like, hey, you're being over the top, stop it. And it like cuts to like the restaurant sort of just sitting there quietly.
Yes.
And I was like, that's pretty good.
One of the other things that I love is, anyone that knows Rob Brydon would probably know that he has this thing he can do where it's called the Little Man in the Box.
Oh, I love Little Man.
And it's this like vocal trick. It's worth YouTubing if you've not seen it before. And one of the recurring themes is Steve Coogan trying to figure out how he does it.
Oh, yeah. And he just can't.
Yeah, and I love that. It's just scenes of Steve Coogan in his bathroom looking at himself in the mirror, just failing at doing this weird vocal trick.
Yeah.
It's an odd show.
It is. And also there's drug taking in it. Like,
yep.
It starts lightly with Steve Coogan just having a joint one night.
Yep.
And then like 2 episodes later he's like doing lines of coke. And you're like, I don't know what's happening anymore.
No, it's like I said, it's a pretty laid back show. But yeah, it's an odd one, because I agree, it does get repetitive, and I think it starts stronger than it ends. I think the first 2 episodes are fantastic, and then you kind of, you're like, I get what they're doing.
Yeah, very much so.
There is a sequel called The Trip to Italy.
Yes, I saw that. It was going to autoplay on my Netflix, and I was like, I won't watch that till after the show.
Yeah, same. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it because I want to see what changes or what they decided to do.
Yeah, same. But yeah, so out of 5?
I think I'd give it a 3.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. It wasn't the greatest thing.
No. And
I don't think I'd ever go back and rewatch the first series.
No, and it was one of those things where I was just struggling to give you something to recommend because...
yeah, you were, yeah.
I was limited by Netflix, and you've already seen a lot of the stuff that I would have recommended to you, which I think we discussed in the last episode.
Yeah, we watch a lot of stuff that the other person has already seen. Like, we're basically just podcasting what we used to do anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's just now we also have like a time pressure to do it, where it's like, I need to come up with a show by this episode.
Yeah.
But that's going to be changing soon.
Well, before we say that, did you want to ask me a question?
Oh, yes. Well remembered, Jack.
Don't worry, that's what I'm here for.
As I said at the start, I feel like the trip is kind of like what me and you would end up doing in 15 years' time.
Yeah.
Okay? Which character do you think we would each be?
Okay, so when I went into it,
yeah,
when you first suggested it to me, I did a little bit of like, I looked up, we were talking about it and we looked up on Wikipedia, and the picture of them both is Rob Brydon sort of laughing quite happily and Steve Coogan looking very annoyed.
Yes.
So from that respect, right, I would say that I would be the Steve Coogan character.
Yeah.
But after watching it, I feel like I might be the Rob Brydon character.
And why do you think that?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I just feel like I can see you.
Yeah.
You're the kind of person that I could see fixating on things and being like... I mean, you want to go out to America.
Yes.
And you'd like to make it big.
Yes.
Whereas I'm like quite happy to just sort of do what I'm doing and just be happy.
Yeah. I asked my girlfriend this question after showing her a couple of episodes, and her response perfectly summed it up, where she said to me, I think you think of yourself as the Steve Coogan character, but you're more like the Rob Brydon character, and Jack's the Steve Coogan character.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if that's just because I've got a girlfriend that if I was on a trip, I'd have to ring up at night, and you've got the freedom and luxury to be going around having these...
stare into mirrors, being like, I'm a little man in a box.
Yeah, but you've also got the freedom and luxury to potentially get with these women.
I feel like if you're idolising Steve Coogan's character in that, Liam, you're sorely mistaken. He is definitely the most depressed.
That is a good point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see it being us one day.
Yep, yep.
And I don't think that's a bad thing to aim for.
No, well, I guess. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see when we get there.
See. 15 years from now, we'll do a comeback tour.
Hey, we might still be doing the podcast 15 years from now.
I hope. If we are, we should do a series of episodes where we go and try restaurants.
I'm well down for that.
Nice.
So, we're changing things.
We are.
Now, don't get worried. Don't get scared.
Everything's going to be different.
We're not changing it that much. Let's not panic, our dear listeners.
What's that? You wanted 2 hosts, now you've got 7.
We're called the Council of Elrond. No, things are changing, but for the better.
We think so.
We know so. We're the ones in control.
We are in control, that's true.
So, Jack, what's going to be different?
So, from this point onwards, this is like... So, these first 6 episodes have been like our little trial arc, if you will.
They're like our intro to Attack on Titan.
Yeah, they're the first 6 episodes where you've all sort of been like, oh, I really like the secondary characters like Jack, but that main character, Liam, bit of a dickhead.
Don't think I'm the main character.
No, I don't think either of us are. I think we both might be side characters in someone else's life.
Yeah, probably.
But, so, from now on, we'll be doing... Instead of doing our usual, I suggest something for Liam to watch, he suggests something for me to watch, we sort of think that means we lose a lot of the discussion.
Yeah, I think we lose a bit of the flow, because suddenly one person has to do a lot of describing and the other person has to sit there patiently listening.
Yeah, so from now on, what we'll be doing is having one thing every 2 weeks. And that doesn't necessarily mean, something that neither of us have seen. It can still be something that one of us has seen, the other one hasn't, or something that's old that we both want to do. But it also means that the listeners, you listeners, can suggest us stuff that you want us to watch, that you think we would be interested in talking about.
Exactly. And it can be something that we haven't ever seen before. All we have to do is we have to have some sort of interest in seeing it for whatever reason.
Yeah, don't suggest us that paint drying film, because I'll be honest with you, I don't have the time to put into that.
And if you're going to suggest something, try and just one sentence sell us on why we should watch it.
Yeah.
Because I'm imagining the amount of listeners we've got, we're going to be fucking flooded with suggestions.
Oh, it's going to be non-stop, mate. I'm going to be sorting that inbox. Whew.
So try and stand out and just have fun. The show's not getting shorter, because if anything, at the moment, we've got the problem of we go on too bloody long.
We're overrunning.
We go on too bloody long. Don't know if you noticed, because it's a bloody good episode, but the last one went 4 minutes over our target. So yeah, we want you to get involved. How can you do that, you might ask? Jack's got the info.
Alright, well, if you want to get in contact with us and send us your ideas, you can always email us at nerdonnerdpod@gmail.com, or you can tweet us at nerdonnerd.
And we're excited to hear the things that you want us to talk about.
Yes, very much so.
I'm excited to see what you come up with, to be honest.
It's going to be interesting. This is the new era of Nerd on Nerd.
We're entering a world of possibilities. Right, so next week we're having a bit of a special Valentine's Day episode.
Yay.
Love is in the air.
Woo.
Do, 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 do. Love is in the air.
Well, copyright infringement.
Fuck it. Right, love is in the air. Not just between me and Jack, but we're having, for the first time ever, a special guest.
we're having a threesome.
With my girlfriend.
Woo!
So, Kat's going to be joining us. She's recommended a graphic novel. Volume 1 of Nailbiter. And she set us a challenge, Jack. I don't know if you're aware of this.
I'm not.
She has set us a challenge. She has said that for the Valentine's Day episode, we have to figure out where the romance is in this graphic novel.
Is this because Kat is trying to cop out of the fact that I told her she had to be able to spuriously connect it to romance?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's exactly what happened.
Great. So it's up to me and you to find the romance in it.
Yeah, whereas we could have been watching something like The Notebook or The OC.
Instead, we're going to read a graphic novel and the whole time have to be like, where is the romance?
Yeah, what was that game where it's all about pigeons finding love?
Oh, Hatter something boyfriend? We
could have been playing that.
Hatterful boyfriend.
Hatterful boyfriend. We could have been doing any of those things, but instead, we're reading Nailbiter.
No, I'm looking forward to this challenge. I'm accepting that challenge. I'm going to find the romance in it.
Okay. So yeah, we're still sticking with the hour-long format, but this time, Culture Swap is just going to be one thing that we're both going to discuss.
And next week, all three of us will be discussing.
Of course. And I'm hoping that by having this this luxury of time, we're going to be able to start digging a little bit deeper into these things as well.
I mean, to be fair, we already dig quite deep. It's just that we do it for so long that you don't hear some of it, listeners.
Exactly. I mean, we've got a time limit to keep to.
You missed out on Liam's great deep look into all the Attack on Titan lore. Oh, you guys missed that. You're not going to hear it.
You missed my fantastic critical discussion on the clothing choices. Why are the Titans naked? If you'd have heard, you'd know.
Yep. Can't believe you guys missed that. Such a shame.
Anyway, I think that about wraps it up for this episode, doesn't it?
I think it does.
Do the outro.
Alright, fine. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Nerd on Nerd. I've been Jack Kempster. Sort of leaving you a gap so you could say your name if you want.
You normally say my name for me at the end of the outro bit.
You said it, the way you said it then made it sound like it's like a small child. You usually say my name for me. I forget.
I could do it if you want me to. But...
No, I'll do it. I can never remember how I do this. Alright, fine. Got it. Loosen the shoulders. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Nerd on Nerd. I've been Jack Kempster. He's been Liam Underwood. And if you want to get in contact with us, you can tweet us at Nerd on Nerd or email us at nerdonnerdpod@gmail.com. Also, don't forget that we're on iTunes and we really want you guys to review us. Not even necessarily 5 stars. We know we don't always earn 5 stars. 4 stars. That's fine. I mean, if you drop into 3... maybe have a look at it and just go, do they want a 3-star one? I'll bump it up to 4 for them because they're nice. And we've got a question for you guys. If you've had any experience playing D&D, let us know how it went. Give Liam some advice. Tell us your stories. We want to hear it. And maybe we'll read some of them out next episode. Bye.
Bye!